Alright folks, this is a flipped lesson on ratios and proportions. We're going to start off with some vocabulary and then go into how to do this. A ratio is a comparison between two numbers, or two values. A proportion is an equivalent ratio, kind of like a pair of equal fractions. Here's an example of a ratio. For every 3 cookies, there are 36 chocolate chips. This is written as 3 to 36. That's how you read the colon that you see here. A proportion example shows this. 3 batteries are required for a clock to work. How many batteries are needed for 4 clocks? I set up my ratio over here, 3 batteries for 1 clock. I need to know how many are in 4 clocks. If you remember from percents, you cross multiply and then divide. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 1 is still 12. That makes these ratios equivalent to each other. Here's another vocabulary word. Unit rate is a relationship between one number, or between one and another value. For example, if you are driving at 70 miles per hour, the unit rate is 1 to 70, or 2 to 140, 3 to 210, and so on. These are equivalent proportional relationships, but my unit rate was written over here. Unit rate can also be expressed on a coordinate plane. Let's look at a new data set. For every 15 minutes a car travels 20 miles. You could say this as 15 to 20, 30 to 40, 45 to 60, and 60 to 80. But none of these give me the unit rate. So I'm going to go over here and set up my box. 15 to 20 to 1. I cross multiply and then divide. 20 divided by 15 is 1 and 5/15. And then that can be simplified to 1 and 1/3. This says that for every minute I travel, I'm going 1 and 1/3 miles. Here's that same data on a graph. Now, these do not, I didn't show the 1 to 1 and 1/3 here because my intervals on my graph would be it would be an approximate. You wouldn't be able to see it very well. Here's that same data on a different graph showing a table written over here. Now, there are 2 principal methods that can be used for solving ratios. Both use the box method, but the methods of calculating them are different. They are called the algebraic way and proportional relationships. You've been exposed mostly to algebraic, but we have discussed this before when we were working on percents a while ago. Here's the algebraic method. My original numbers are 6 to 27 with 81. I'm going to cross multiply and solve for x. X just happens to be the box I don't know the value of. 6 times 81 is 486. 27 times x is 27x. I'm going to then divide each side by 27, giving me a value that x is equal to 18. There's the same question using a proportional relationship. You have to ask yourself, what times 27 gives me 81? I could divide 81 by 27 and get 3, and then I apply that to the number up top, which would be 6 times 3, which equals 18. Proportional relationships are easy when you're working with just whole numbers, but when you get into decimals and fractions, the algebraic way is a simpler method to use because not many people know how to multiply by fractions and decimals in their head. Let's do some practice. Now I'm going to give you a series of questions. Your job is to complete the questions by pausing the video, and then once you get your answers, hit play and you can check what the answers are. Do a box for each one. Some of these questions may be required to be turned in, so I wouldn't put this in my graphing notebook. I would do this on regular paper. Or not regular paper, regular loose graph paper. These questions are to simplify. In order to do that, find the greatest common factor of the pair of numbers that you see, and then divide each number by that GCF. Remember to pause the video, and then once you are done, advance the video by hitting play, and you can check your answers. Here are the answers, looking at the GCF for each one. Here's that same principle using tables. Your job is to look for the patterns. Again, pause, and then you'll be able to calculate it. For this specific one, you do not need to fill out a ratio box to do this. Here are the answers, followed by the patterns. This is practice with just writing the ratio. You don't have to calculate it, you're just being asked to express it with just numbers. For example, in number 1 it says for every 5 boys on a softball team there are 7 girls. What is the ratio of boys to girls? Pause, and then you'll do it. In this question, or with these questions rather, express your answers with the colon. Here are your answers for just expressing the ratios themselves. Here you're being asked to calculate the unit rate. That means if there are 57 pints of juice in 3 containers, how many pints are in 1 container? Use a ratio box to calculate these answers. Your answers are listed below. Here are unit rate word problems. Set up table or ratio boxes to answer these questions. Here are your answers. Here's some ratio word problems. Set up your box and solve. Here are your answers. More practice. Your answers. Ask any questions if you have any when you see me in class. Thank you.